everyone. Welcome to an interview that we decided to do with the new president and vice president of Yes Europe. We're joined today in the call by the former vice president of Yes Europe, Livia. My name is Balakrishnan. I'm 24 years old and I was recently elected the president of Yes Europe. And this is Max van der Linden, who was also elected vice president of Yes Europe. And we've decided that to sort of, for everyone in Yes Europe, both internally and externally, to get to know a little bit about us, we're just going to have a chat with Livia about basically our backgrounds and what we see kind of with our plans for the NGO for 2024. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting chat. So I believe that Livia has some questions for us.
And thanks for listening in. And so Eric, Max, do you mind sharing your academic and professional backgrounds to the Yes Europe community?
Perfect. So I come from a chemistry background. So I did a bachelor's degree in chemical technology in Malta, which is where I'm from. And then I moved to England and did a master's degree in green chemistry and sustainable industrial technology. I have experience working both the public and private sector. I have experience working in pharmaceuticals, research development, but also I have a keen interest in things like PR. I've monitored some projects in both the public and private sector as well. And yeah, I have a big interest in sort of applied science and research innovation, and sort of helping stakeholders and sort of entities sort of unlock their scientific needs. But yeah, also I really sort of enjoy the whole externalization thing. So I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy meeting people from a vast array of backgrounds. I have an interest in sort of legal backgrounds, but also financial things. So yeah, it's quite a kind of multidisciplinary, diverse professional and academic background that I have.
All right. Myself, I won't state a whole list of facts here because you can see them on my LinkedIn. Rather, I'd like to give you a quick rundown of why or how energy and sustainability have been ingrained into my background, which is mostly business and finance oriented. Out of high school, I started with political science, which I absolutely hated. So I made a quick switch to business administration, and then a specialization into finance, which is what I'm pursuing now with my master's in finance and investments at the Erasmus University in Rotterdam, where I live. The two factors that have really implemented or impacted, my academical career is one, the incredible value of internationalization, and two, the necessity of integrating sustainability into finance, which is two aspects that I'm really pursuing as of this moment as well. Professionally, I've done a lot through the years. I think I've had around 20 employers in my 23 years on this earth. Luckily, no child labor was involved. I started when I was 16. My experiences, they range from frying things and flipping burgers at McDonald's and delivering packages for DHL to being now an analyst at Deloitte. But the work that has gripped me most is all ESG related. It ranges from an internship that I did at a leading sustainable bank in the Netherlands to another internship in an NGO in Spain to now being very active in Yes Europe.
Wow, so very complementary and diverse backgrounds. So moving a bit more in saying personal, let's say, questions. So can you explain to the Yes Europe community what is your leadership style and especially, what kind of personality and skills are you trying to bring into the organization?
Sure. Good question, Livia. A few aspects of my personality that I think I carry with me in leadership style. First of all, I would say is my ability to stay calm in stressful situations. And I've been told that this radiates outwards. I can give an example of this in the preparation of COP28. As I'm sure you remember, Livia, it was very hectic times, and more than once we were uncertain that we could even bring it to a successful end. But by staying calm and working hard, we got it done eventually. Also, in large part because of Laia, of course, which is one of the great talents that Yes Europe holds. Another one that I would like to mention that I think is very inherent to myself is that I tend to think sometimes a lot before I talk instead of doing it, simultaneously. I definitely prefer to listen than to talk because everything I have to say I already know, and I prefer to learn from others as much as possible. which is one of the reasons why I'm very excited about this dual leadership role with Eric. Um, as maybe you'll find out in this interview, he loves to talk. Uh, he talks easily and sensibly, I would say. So that's a good combination. And in a more general sense, I think the leadership style that suits me and Eric as well best is to not be too nitpicky on the details. We fully trust the incredible talent and commitment that people in Yes Europe have. So our role is more in empowering and really getting the best out of everyone to do what they love to do. The way I see our role is kind of picking up the must be dones and allowing in turn everyone else to do the want to do's.
And I think if I can add to what Max is saying, we've not been a president and vice president pair for very long. It's only been a few weeks so far, and obviously when this interview comes out, it might be a little bit longer. But we are a very complementary duo when it comes to our personalities. We're both very different leaders. I think Max alluded to it as well. If we go to a meeting and there's 100 things to say, I think I end up saying 99 of them, and then Max will say one thing. And the one thing that Max says is actually like the thing which, it makes so much sense. I'm a type of leader that tries to attack the problem head on. I think if there is an issue to be solved, I think there's no kind of any reason dancing around it or pretending it doesn't exist. So I think Max and I are very kind of straight to the point, direct people. Obviously, we have different personalities. And I think when you are in an organization, it's about celebrating the diversity in personalities. And I think especially in leadership positions, that's the kind of the strength of a team of people is you have a different kind of clash of cultures, but not clash in a bad way. It's more of like a fusion. And I think Max and I do work really well in that regard, is that we do have different styles of leading, communicating. But as long as we're sort of in the same place when it comes to problem solving, I think it's always going to be positive in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Embracing the diversity is totally, let's say, something that I also saw while I was at Yes Europe. So moving forward, Yes Europe is all about empowering young leaders in energy and sustainability. Do you think that this vision is still mirrored in the current leaders of the NGO?
Definitely, and I think the power of Yes Europe, and Yes Europe has been an NGO that has been around for 8 years. There's been so many great people in so many diverse kind of industrial sectors, but also sort of cultural backgrounds as well. And that's the real strength of the NGO, is these leaders that we aim to empower. And if I can talk specifically about some people, so obviously Max and I are new to these kind of international leadership positions. So Max came from the finance team; he was a finance manager. I was the country representative of Yes Europe Malta, so both of us were sort of in leadership positions beforehand. But then, if you take into consideration Sakari in his position of operations leads, and under him you have Laya and Silas operations managers who look after so many different projects. You have Elena as the communications lead, you have Philip, who is our CFO, and then Arnav, who is the finance manager. You have Evie, who does such a great job looking after all of the country teams, the CR lead, Filippo, who's the community management lead, and then Gideon, who was the knowledge sharing lead last year, and Demetrius is the policy lead. So all of these people and so many other people as well, they're such crucial kind of elements to what we try to do at Yes Europe, which is to empower people to solve problems in a coalesced way. And we rely heavily on those personalities and their leadership styles to ensure that the NGO is always thinking forwards and always being proactive and 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, I fully agree with what Eric has said. We have talked about this a lot over the past couple of weeks. I would say in response to your question, Livia, that definitely, like most certainly, we are dedicated to fostering these opportunities, to providing resources, and to advocate for, young people's place and involvement in this energy and sustainability space. We see now that our voices are more and more heard than, let's say, 10 years ago, but there's definitely still a lot of work to do. We saw that at COP as well. There was an improvement, but definitely not enough. So I'm really proud to represent and put my effort and time into an organization that holds these values so dear to their heart. It's beautiful, and I'm very excited for it.
Perfect. So moving forwards, especially working now on the organization vision, how are you planning on implementing in the short and long term the vision of Yes Europe and all that has been done from your predecessors?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? What are we going to do, and how are we going to do it? First of all, I want to say that we're very lucky to have taken over leadership from such competent and driven people. I've worked mostly with you, Livia, and you've taught me a lot over the past year in working together. Um, Being in Yes Europe has shown me the importance and the influence of the decisions that we take, and it has shown me the effect that our actions can have, even though relatively they're little. Of course, we can't change the world by tomorrow, but I've really seen that every little action we take is a step in the transition that happens gradually, and I'm very honored to take part in that. So, a bit more concretely, in the long term, we want to focus on four specific things. They are explicated in our 5-year strategy until 2028. First thing, very important one, is to strengthen the local teams, to really reinforce the key values that Yes Europe holds, to connect people across the whole continent to work towards these shared goals. Second one, in order to do that, we need to strengthen the financial situation and increase partnerships to increase our reach, because we are very aware that we cannot do it alone. Even though we are quite a large organization, the problem is even larger, so we definitely need to cooperate as much as possible. Third and fourth point are to provide young people knowledge and skills to realize what we want to realize in their communities, and to strengthen the foothold of Yes Europe itself in the policymaking sphere, where eventually the action really happens. So those are really like the long-term goals that we have set out. But before we can work full force towards these goals, Eric and I are now currently very active, working together with so many people in Yes Europe to get the organization in order so that we are fully positioned to strive as good as we can to these long-term goals.
And if I could add to what Max was saying from a very technical perspective, I think when you're trying to manage a succession during a transition period, I think it's really important, especially not just when you're new to a leadership position, and obviously in the context that we are young people, but when you're new to a new team or environment in general, I think it's important just to get a bit of a feel of exactly the things that have been working really well. And it's not a negative way of thinking about things, but you definitely don't want to fix things which aren't broken. And you definitely just want to think about these are the good things that have been working, and we just need to monitor and just have positive oversight over everything. And then you can slowly start to improve and go from there. What's good is that we do have a very clearly defined strategy, and our job as president and vice president is to support everyone in Yes Europe in implementing the strategy. We obviously want to give ourselves some time to settle down, to understand the kind of context for what's been happening, which is what we've been doing in the initial weeks and hopefully months, maybe up until the annual conference in June. But then definitely, we have a clearly defined strategy, and the job is to implement it in the best way that we can.
Yeah, I think the strategy is definitely very ambitious, and Eric, I love when you said we definitely don't want to fix things that are not broken. So totally double down on that. But also now, thinking about the future, one of the reasons why Yes Europe exists is also about upskilling, reskilling, and in general having successful career growth for its members. So how do you think this is crucial for the soul of the NGO?
So the ethos and vision of Yes Europe is very clear, and it relies on the leaders in Yes Europe to sort of coalesce towards this common goal. So to provide some context, the origins of Yes Europe was as a sort of student-orientated organization. I wouldn't go to say it was a student organization, but that was essentially the sort of cradle of the organization. But naturally, sort of even the sort of people who've been in the organization for a consistent period of time and for a long period of time, they aren't students forever, and they're going to become young professionals. And I think the real core of the leadership of Yes Europe are people who we would define as young professionals, who obviously are still studying. And I think you're always going to be prioritizing professional growth, whether that's in academia or whether you're sort of still learning lots of new things in the industrial sector. But what's really important is that we ourselves are people who are still advancing our careers, and we want to be able to shine a positive light on the sort of success possibilities and stories within the community that we have in Yes Europe, and be not just a source of inspiration from like an abstract point of view, but genuinely create opportunities, have events, have the opportunity to work on projects, meet like-minded people. This is the real soul of Yes Europe. It's been the soul and sort of ethos of Yes Europe for a number of years, and there's no reason to change something that is so sort of beautiful, and can really be a source of inspiration for other people. But our job is to even more embolden that kind of strategy with a clear strategy that we have. And we need to do that not just with our words, but with our actions as well. And obviously, this interview might be like a small thing that we're aiming to achieve. But if you're hearing it from the president and vice president that this is what we want to achieve, by all means, we should be held to that standard as well and be like a reference point for exactly what the vision of Yes Europe is.
Definitely, yeah. Well said, Eric. Just to come back quickly to your question, Livia, I have one answer basically that's very concrete. There's several, so many reasons why this is so important, but there's one that I would like to highlight in particular. I think it's really simple logic, basically. We need these skilled and motivated people to fulfill our mission at Yes Europe. We are a youth organization. The youth has the future, whether it's students or young professionals. So making as many people as possible aware of and competent within these sectors is absolutely paramount to achieve what we want to achieve. And that doesn't just go for the organization, but for Europe as a continent as a whole.
Couldn't agree more, especially, creating the opportunities when they don't exist. So what do you think you will be doing in 2024? What sort of, kind of activities, projects do you envisage for Yes Europe?
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting year. The first thing we have coming up is the annual conference. I will let Eric talk a bit more about that, as he's more experienced in that field. But projects and events are really one of the main focuses of this year. We've learned over the years, especially last year, that it's a very powerful tool that we can use. So the AC is one. Another one that we are very excited for and that we are recruiting for at the moment is COP29. We want to start preparations for that as soon as possible. Last year, COP28 was a big success, but we know actually that we can do it even bigger and better this year. So that's a big one on the agenda. And we also have some other things in the pipeline. There's the Power Youth program and potentially a possible collab with the European Youth Parliament. That's already a partner of ours. So definitely a lot of exciting things to look forward to.
Yeah, and I think especially, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to things like marketing and PR. I'm not kind of academically and professionally trained in those things, but it's just something that I really enjoy. And when you work in an organization full of young people who kind of think the same way, you sort of see it as really critical that it's important to highlight exactly the work that we're trying to do. And the annual conference is sort of the red carpet event for Yes Europe every year. Every conference has been a success, even during the pandemic. And I'm sure that Livia remembers a couple of the annual conferences that they had during the pandemic, which weren't, I suppose, that sort of champagne sort of event that you might expect. But we had a really successful annual conference last year in Athens, and then this year we're really thrilled to announce everybody from the Yes Europe community, but also whoever is sort of interested in sort of youth organizations, energy sustainability from any kind of sector, to this year's annual conference in Brussels in June. We have a really, really talented working group that are working towards that, and we mentioned some of those people a few questions ago as well. But it's mainly going to be led by Essam, who is the country representative of Yes Europe Belgium. He was in charge of the European Sustainability Week, the EU Sustainability Week for Energy last year in Brussels, and then obviously deserves this tremendous opportunity to run the conference for this year. There are a number of events that Yes Europe will be participating this year. So if you stay up to date on our LinkedIn and Instagram pages, but also on our website, we keep that updated as well. So we have a number of kind of newsletters that comes out, a number of public articles. And then, obviously, if you go to the LinkedIn page of our Yes Europe account and look at the people who are working there, drop all of us a connection or a follow so that you can see all the cool events that we're also attending. And then, you might sort of be interested in getting involved yourself and sort of want to come to these events and meet all of us as well, because we'd be excited to meet all of you.
Well, thank you so much. As we're basically getting towards a close. So, first of all, thanks for the exhaustive answers and as well all the enthusiasm that you're putting into bringing Yes Europe to its next level. So, maybe a last message that you would like to share with the Yes Europe community.
Yeah, sure. The message I would have for our community at this new stage is definitely one of excitement, of unity, and of empowerment. I think those are three very important factors that are very akin to what we stand for. I think before us lie incredible opportunities to drive positive change in the space that we are active in. So I'm super excited for us too, but for everyone in Yes Europe to embrace that and to thrive for it, to strive for it with enthusiasm and determination. Also, as a more personal note, if you are a member of Yes Europe or you want to become a member and you want to discuss some ideas, some worries, or whatever you have, just shoot any of us a message on Discord. We're always open to talk, to have a chat. So, yeah, feel free. Feel free. I think only good things can come from it.
And I think if I can close off the interview with probably my favorite word at the moment, which is coalescence. I think when you work for an organization where all the work is voluntary, ideas about sort of committing and hard work is not always going to be the priority, because I think people's personal and professional life always takes precedence. But there are such amazing opportunities that Yes Europe have brought people in the past. I think all of us in this call today and so many people that we speak to in Yes Europe are really proud to talk about the sort of work that Yes Europe does to employers. And that's what we want to be. We are an NGO full of young professionals. We do really serious work over here, but we do serious work with the right mindset and the right positivity. And I think that's where coalescing towards a common goal is so crucial, because if you get a lot of like-minded people thinking together, a lot of things are going to be possible. And that's what we want to do. We want to empower people in the energy and sustainability sector. It's such a diverse sector, and you have to remember that we are a European NGO, and we have representation in about 30 countries in some sort of capacity. And that means that these energy stories are always going to be diverse. I'm from Malta. And in Malta, we're such a sunny country that, there's so many photovoltaic panels which are here domestically. But then you might speak to somebody in Iceland, and then geothermal energy might be their story over there, or hydrogen energy, or wind turbine energy. All of these stories have to be shared, not just from a personal point of view, but from a professional point of view. And that's what we aim to be, which is sort of be like a guiding hand. Not exactly the entity telling people what to do, but we are the guiding hand where people can come here, and it is a safe space for people to talk about their energy and sustainability stories, and then be a force for empowerment for people in their career growth. So definitely coalescence would be the word and the message that I would use, which is to trust us, because we're always going to trust you with what you think is the right course of action to empower yourself in your professional career.
Being from the Netherlands, I'm very jealous of the sun that you have to as an alternative energy source. We can't rely on that.
Context: Max was when we're recording this, Max was on holiday in Rome last week, and was letting me know that it was incredibly sunny over there. It's actually gotten quite cold recently in Malta, but there's not a cloud in the sky today. It's going to be a hot summer for sure. But that obviously means that people get to harvest all the energy they want through their photovoltaic panels.
Perfect, well said. And yeah, hopefully the sun also shines in other parts of Europe at the moment, because it's raining here. But thank you so much. Really, very much appreciated. Good luck, most importantly, and thank you for all the listeners that will hear this now, today, tomorrow, in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Livia. Thank you, everyone.